The number of students who are registered as having a disability is skyrocketing at prestigious universities in the U.S. That is according to an article from The Atlantic that's been getting a lot of traction online.
Now, disabled students can receive a variety of special accommodations from their schools. Many of those accommodations are considered standard and are not controversial. But others, such as giving the students extra time to complete exams, have become a point of contention by those who believe they're being exploited. The article reads in part, quote, "Professors now struggle to accommodate the many students with an official disability designation, which may entitle them to extra time, a distraction-free environment, or the use of otherwise prohibited technology." At Brown and Harvard, more than 20% of undergraduates are registered as disabled. 38% of Stanford undergraduates are registered as having a disability. The most common and most, The
most common and most contentious accommodation is the granting of extra time on exams. For students with learning disabilities, the extra time may be necessary to complete the test, but unlike a wheelchair ramp, this kind of accommodation can be exploited. And the article goes on to describe some of the more unusual accommodations, such as students with social anxiety getting exemptions from being called on by their professors to answer questions. And one administrator at a public college in California says a student there got permission to bring their mother to class. The internet reacted strongly to the article, with many saying it shows how students are trying to gain an advantage by cheating the system. Journalist Derek Thompson, a friend of mine, writes, "America used to stigmatize disability too severely. Now elite institutions reward it too liberally. It simply does not make any sense to have a policy that declares half of the students at Stanford cognitively disabled and in need of accommodations." This is so insane. Writer Matthew Zaitlin says, "I wonder how much nihilism and low social trust comes from the sense that everyone is getting one over on you and everyone else." And New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof writes, "We liberals have a way of letting good intentions run amok." Yeah. I read this story. It's a spit your coffee out, throw your coffee cup at the wall and shoot yourself story. It's so sad.
I thought about you when this was on the docket for today. I was like, he's like, what frail, what society do we live in?
They're frailing themselves. They want to be perceived as victims so they can get special accommodations. And honestly, you can only blame them for that so much. Because if you have the sense that everyone is getting extra time on their exam because they've feigned some disability, you're the only one who actually has to take the exam under the conditions prescribed, well, you're going to feel it's unfair, and you're going to try to get that advantage too. What if we they're creating a system where eventually 60, 70, 80% of people are getting extra time on the exam, or have mom to hold their hand, or don't get called on?
Is wild.
This is so insane. You know what? I'm sorry. On some level, if you have bad anxiety and then you're not going to do bad on the exam should test for that. You should do worse on the exam for that reason. The exam is measuring how good you are at doing the exam. And if we're making it so everybody gets an A+ for what? It's insane. If you're worse at taking exams, you should get a worse score. Sorry, not everyone is equally good at everything. Not everyone is equally brilliant at everything. I would do way worse on a math exam than most people, and probably you. And we could,
you think I'm excellent at math? I'm flattered.
I don't know. We could rig the system so that I get just as good as a grade. If I have access to, if I have extra time and a fancy calculator and I can ask Grok to do it for me, then I'll get the same score. But I should get a worse score because I'm less good at it. That's what the test should be frickin' testing for. This is so insane that they've allowed themselves to get hoodwinked by the language of safetyism and disability and victimhood when you it's exactly as Derek Thompson used to say. We stigmatize disability too much. Now we reward it. Now we put you on a pedestal if you're a victim, and so we encourage people to identify themselves as such because we have given power to victimhood, and that was a profound mistake. End of rant.
I wanted to give you the floor because I knew you would feel a type of way about this. I am frustrated by this because I appreciate that there is a hyper focus on situations and incidents that are often overlooked. I love that the conversation about liberals paying way too much attention to it because, yeah, it needed to be looked into about how people with disabilities are faring and having a fair shake at big, prestigious universities. Now, I will agree there is a tendency to overcorrect right? If we were all the way over here, we want to end somewhere right in the middle, not over here. And so to have half of these universities, or even 20% that are dealing with disabilities, is a little bit out there. But I also think we needed to account for some disabilities that do include some mental health disabilities that are not very obvious, like wheelchair disabilities or anything that we think are disabilities because of how we've been taught. But there are people who genuinely do.
But those are made up.
Wait, no, there are people that genuinely do need extra time or do have anxiety. I don't know about bringing your mom, but there's some people who actually need extra technology or a quiet space to take a test because they had extreme ADD and things like that. These are real things that actually happen. Maybe not to 40% of the Ivy League population.
You should just fail
but
the test.
But then, so the way that you do in school, like if you fail out of Stanford, that doesn't particularly help you get a job, especially for those. Like a lot of my friends left a college and went into finance, let's say, and worked at some of these investment banks. Now, in our field, people may have looked at what school you went to, but it's really like, are you a great, well, for me, are you a good writer? Can you produce? Come show me some examples of your work. So for finance and for investment banking, it was like, what's your GPA? These are things that were really happening. So if you're just take a longer time, but you're really good at like a specific task, and you're really good in the banking industry, you just take a long time on a quiz, a silly quiz that really a lot of times in college has nothing to do with your actual real life, then why should you be punished with some like 2.1 GPA and be the last one on the list at the job for JP Morgan because you have a little bit of ADD?
Because doing well on the test, when it's administered fairly, correlates very highly with success in that workplace.
Not always. Some people are great successes. No, some people are great successes that don't like.
You
school
love
wasn't
looking for the exceptions. There
No,
are exceptions to everything.
school could not have been amazing for you. Just like you said, you weren't the best in math. You know what? I think you can calculate your way to a comfortable job like this one. Okay, so you calculated some things correctly to make sure that you were successful in life. So that's what I'm saying. You don't need to be amazing at math to be able to.
I'm not saying being
Yeah, but you didn't.
Misunderstanding. I'm not saying there's no. It doesn't make you a more worthwhile human being. You still have the same moral worth as everyone else. And there are some fields where doing really good at tests or getting really good grades correlates with success in that field and is very important. I would not particularly say that journalism or punditry is one of them. What we're doing, it's important to have good writing skills and good communication skills. Those things are, well, you can test for good writing skills, right, our math.
But if I needed 10 more minutes than you and my writing was freaking fantastic. And
no, that's unfair. If your writing is better than I should.
And I got 10 more minutes, but I have a disability that requires me that I can't
Absolutely
focus in a
not.
classroom.
Absolutely
And then I write
not.
a Pulitzer Prize winning piece, then I should deserve to be a writer.
Well, maybe if I got 10 more minutes, I would write a Pulitzer Prize.
Maybe not though. You should, but maybe.
Well,
not.
it should just be the same time limit for both of
No,
us.
what if you write an amazing, fascinating piece without the 10 minutes, and I really write my worst work without that extra 10 minutes?
Well, if you write the same piece, but it takes you
so
longer,
I shouldn't
then
get
I'm
the
better.
job. I shouldn't be penalized when they look at my essay from college
Yes,
because
you
I didn't
should
have
be.
10 more minutes.
Yes, you should.
No, there's people who actually just really do need that extra time and really need that extra care. That's why there are people in schools and this starts.
I think the
grade
difference
school
between
that
an
help out
obvious physical disability where you need
cognitive disabilities,
a ramp because you're in a wheelchair, or you need glasses because you have bad eyesight. I think the difference between that and these very nebulous and poorly defined social disabilities or psychological disabilities
You don't take psychology
so
seriously.
obvious.
This has been proven to me in the last 2 days. Psychologists will talk about the effects of smartphones on children. You don't take that seriously.
It's pseudoscience.
Psychologists talk
I don't
about
take pseudoscience
No,
seriously.
psychologists talk about all these things. They talk about how there are actual cognitive disabilities. You don't accept it. Like, why don't you accept people who take empirical data and provide it as information to us and
It's
accept it?
pseudoscience.
No, that's ridiculous. You just won't accept the truth. You gotta. One of my good friends told me you need to accept the reality, and that's what you need to do. You need to start to accept the reality.
This
that some
story is
people
about
need more
people who are
time.
accepting your lived reality.
They overcorrected, but that certainly doesn't mean we should go back to the old way when the only thing that was a disability was a wheelchair. That's also not acceptable. I think we need to find some happy medium.
Physical disability should be accommodated.
Yeah, that shouldn't be
if
the
you're
only
blind,
thing.
then you have to have the test read to you, like yes, or Braille version of the test. That is so different from saying you get 20
So there
extra
are no
times, 20 extra
cognitive
minutes.
disabilities at all to you.
I didn't say there are no cognitive.
They shouldn't be acknowledged in college spaces.
I would need more specificity than that to decide whether this should be acknowledged or not. People should not get more time than another student. And let me go a little step further.
Okay.
I'm acknowledging that some people, for whatever cognitive reason, will do less well on a test than another person. What I'm saying is the point of the test is to figure that out. The fact that you're going to do less well on a test than someone else is what it's testing for. Some people are supposed to get an A+, and some people fail it. But now we've designed this stupid system where everyone is supposed to get an A+.
No,
so
my
if it
point
takes
is that
you
it's
2
not
hours
gonna-
to do it, to get you an A+, you're going to get 2 hours. Then what's the point of a test? Let's not even have the test. Let's just give everyone an A+ and move on. Let's just enroll everyone in the college and just everyone gets an A+ and everyone gets a diploma. And that's it. The reason they don't want to do that is...
And you're painting this with a broad stroke brush. Giving somebody a couple more minutes or a quiet room to do a test, some people that have cognitive disabilities, will actually help them just compete at a fair playing ground.
Okay, what if my cognitive disability is I'm bad at arithmetic?
No, yours is not real. That's not a real thing.
No, I have a cognitive disability.
I'm talking about people that have maybe a learning disorder.
How dare you? I have a cognitive
No.
disability. I'm bad at
No,
arithmetic. I have a problem. I have a difficulty keeping track of numbers in my head. So I should use pen and paper and get more time. And then I'll get the same score as you.
What we're agreeing on and talking about is people that have access to privilege, whose parents actually probably got them in a situation where they're giving their kid the best shake at being extremely successful. And so they're asking for extra time and extra space when there are real people that actually need a few extra minutes or some quiet space to achieve at least a decent score on tests. No, they're not F students, but these people also might be summed up by their grades when it comes time to graduate college. And so they're just asking that they get a fair chance to actually compete in this testing. Not a fair chance to get an A+, just a fair chance to compete. And they can't
What's fair
focus
is everybody
in a
has the
classroom.
same time limit and everyone has the same accommodations, and then we see a range of scores, and that's how you do it.
I'm certainly happy that you're not in the education field. You want to cut the Department of Ed. You think there's no cognitive disabilities, or you don't want to account for them anyway. You think that means giving everybody an A+. I'm happy that you're in this exact field.
Everything you just said, I
killing
co-sign. All right, we've got more to talk about on Rising. Stay with us.